No AI-generated crowd photos.
No 45-minute delays.
Just vibes. I'm Vibes President, Brian Derrick.
And I'm Vibes Czar, Glennis Meagher.
And this is Vibes Only, the one and only podcast that promises to check the vibes of American politics every week. And the vibes this week:
Donald Trump overnight making a return to his old favorite megaphone, taking part in a streaming conversation on X with the site's billionaire owner, Elon Musk.
We'll discuss that so-called interview and what it would mean for the race if Trump is once again a regular presence on the platform formerly known as Twitter. And
after weeks of uncertainty, the stage is now set for a presidential debate showdown between Vice President Harris and former President Trump next month.
We'll talk about how we finally, supposedly, got a debate locked and what it took for Trump to finally re-agree to the next debate. And
even more news about Project 2025 from ProPublica. Not only does the Heritage Foundation have a plan to remake America and a resume database for volunteers, but they also have masterclass-style video tutorials on how these folks can outwit bureaucrats, hide information from the public, and implement their radical agenda without accountability.
We have to go through some of these Project 2025 training video highlights before playing an It's Giving, pulling up our group chat, and leaving you with a good vibe. Let's get into it.
Hey, Brian. How are you?
Hey, Gigi. I'm great. I'm having a banger week. What's your vibe?
My vibe is the DNC is a lot of work. For all those who don't know, the DNC starts Monday. Brian and I will both be there. And it's a really exciting time. The vibe for the DNC is like, whoa. People are stoked. The energy is high. There's just a lot of logistics. So that's my vibe.
I mean, the DNC vibes went from like, do you have to go? No, do you have to go? To now it's like, how can I get a ticket? Who's going to be there on this day? Where can we meet up? Like everyone is fighting to get in the door. It's going to be so lit. It's going to be really fun.
It's the hottest ticket in town, but
it is.
Conveniently for Vibes Only listeners, we're going to do a Vibes Only at the DNC.
Can't wait.
Something else I can't wait for.
Oh my gosh. I am sitting here with a tub of buttered popcorn ready to go for the Trump-Harris debate.
It is set for September 10th, 2024, which is the original date that ABC had already pre-programmed based on their debate schedule. And you've made this point before that this is not like the debate organization.
Commission, right.
Commission, right. So we didn't know because, you know, Trump could just be like, I'm not showing up. And we had some discourse about Kamala should have just done a town hall, but we're going to get the real deal.
Yeah, and he still could, right? It's Trump. So we won't know until he literally steps up to that lectern whether or not he is going to do it. But the closer we get and the more statements he makes that he does plan to attend, the worse it will look for him to bail. Like truly like he's running away. What are you most excited for in the debate?
Well, you know, the vice president has already said this multiple times, and we said this even before she became the candidate. She is a prosecutor. That is what she has historically done. She knows her way around an argument and, you know, completing an argument well. I'm just looking forward to her owning Trump on the facts and really anchoring herself in the policy that she wants to, you know, put forth as president of the United States and, you know, and defending the last 4 years. I just, you know, I think that there was this collective trauma from Joe Biden's debate, and this is going to be a 180.
For sure. I agree with that. I do think that it's a challenge for her, and the bar will definitely be really high for what she needs to do, especially because the tone of the campaign is like joy and hope and these things. And a debate oftentimes lends itself to a sharper tongue, right? Like the moments that go viral from debates, let's think back to the Republican debates from this year when it's like Vivek Ramaswamy getting viral moments from like going scorched earth on everyone under the sun. If we think back to 2020, the debates that went viral, think about like Elizabeth Warren going after Mike Bloomberg. Like the things that get play oftentimes are the attacks and those prosecutorial type moments, which I think she will excel at. Right. But she also has to manage to balance that with the message of her campaign, which is like, we're not going back. Let's look to the future and bring hope and joy back to the country. So she just has to do both. Not saying it's impossible, just that it is a big task.
It's a challenge. She'll have debate prep. She's already prepped. I just think of the clip of like, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Right.
I'm speaking.
I think we're going to get some more of that.
Yeah, don't come for us, Donald Trump. Do not.
Where do you land on one debate versus three? Because we also should mention Trump is like trying to push her into a Fox News debate and potentially one other with like live audiences, particularly for the Fox News debate that he can try to work to his advantage against her. What are you feeling on should she do more or leave it at the pre-agreed upon
schedule? As an athlete at heart, I'm like 3. That's more opportunities to win, baby. Like more opportunities to prosecute Donald Trump and to advocate for her presidency.
Totally.
What do you think?
I think that the left does not make decisions based on ego. And so she should not be goaded into like pissing contest with Donald Trump of like, how many debates can we do? I think she should do the first one and see how it goes. If it becomes a giant platform for Trump to like spew misinformation about the 2024 election and try to cast doubt on the election results before the first vote is cast, then I think she should really reconsider whether Fox News is going to be a helpful platform to have a conversation with him. And she shouldn't do that. If he is as unhinged as he has been for the last like 2 weeks, which we have to talk about, right? Calling her a bitch and rambling about things that are completely either lies or irrelevant or disinformation and shows how incoherent he's become, then let's do one every day from now through November because he's only digging himself a hole. So let's see on September 10th what the vibe is and then go from there.
Yeah, I'm also just seeing here in the notes that not only is Trump pushing for a Fox debate, he's pushing for the Fox debate before the ABC debate, which to your point shows that, or perhaps is indicative that people will most definitely tune in for the first one, right? So that's going to get the most viewership. But let's talk about why Trump even agreed. Because I know he was like flip-flopping, will I, won't die, and now he's like, I will. Is this because his campaign is flailing a little bit and he wants more airtime?
Oh, it's wild, the pivot that we've seen in the last 2 weeks or so, particularly since Walz was announced. Harris and Walz barnstormed the country to literally sold out arenas in every swing state.
It looked like concerts.
Yeah, for real. It was giving Renaissance vibes at these. Did you see the clip of that kid singing Not Like Us?
Yes.
The Kendrick Lamar song?
Yes. The little white boy. And okay, sorry, not little white boy, but young white man.
That young white man in Georgia. It was in Georgia, I believe, at the Atlanta one. Oh my gosh. And he was like going ham to Kendrick Lamar. It was just such good energy. I love to see it. And that's been the sort of fun online part that we all get to enjoy. But the numbers under the hood tell an even bolder story about what's happening, where Harris is now up in the blue wall swing states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. And Trump, in reaction to that, seems to be really spiraling out of control, where that we had this report come out, like I said, that he's been calling her a bitch behind closed doors, which is not going to resonate with women who have ever been in a workplace.
Literally?
And yeah.
I was like, Alexa, play Meredith Brooks.
I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a
Get a grip. Come on. Heaven forbid a woman is direct.
Right. Totally.
To your point, women, we deal with this every single day in corporate America. Men can be direct. Men can advocate in a way that has authority, and a woman does it and she's a bitch. And it's like, what?
Right. And I think that this is the pickle of the Trump campaign, where because he is so incoherent and off message, the more he's in the news, the more it hurts his standing in the race. And so it becomes a very difficult problem to solve, because the answer in a normal situation would be get out there, hit the talking points, attack your opponent, sell your vision, and try to muscle your way back into a lead position. That's not very doable for Trump, because as we've said, he is truly in a, what I would consider like a feedback loop of the worse he's doing, the more out of control he is, which drives worse numbers, which makes him spiral more. I mean, just in the last 2 weeks, he's defended the attackers on January 6th again.
The hostages.
We're calling them, right, exactly, who he always refers to as like political prisoners and hostages. He gave a non-committal answer when asked whether he would ban medication abortion nationwide. He pretended like the thousands of videos and photos of Kamala Harris's campaign rallies were AI generated and fake, which is obviously outrageous.
And there's literal like frame by frame of like the same arenas of the Harris Walls rally versus like the Trump rally. And it's like 80 to 1.
The whole crowd size thing is insane. He said that Jewish people should have their head examined. That's a quote. If they don't vote for him. He said he was not a big fan of Biden's brain. He's raised additional conspiracy theories about the 2020 election, said mail-in voting should be ended while his own campaign promotes it, bragged repeatedly about his own crowd sizes using numbers that are contradicted by the media who attended the same events. So that's in a week, right? So this is a person who's in free fall.
And is like wildly misogynistic and homophobic and xenophobic. Like it's all of these like pillars of hate that are combined with this like delusion that he has about his reality that you just listed from the past week.
And because I want people to understand this, and it's a really close election. And those might feel like completely contradictory things, but both are true. And the reason is most Americans are not aware of this list. And most Americans do not read and pay attention to these things the way that we do and the way that the people listening to this podcast do. And so you have to remember that the average swing voter in Pennsylvania who might decide the entire election via the Electoral College probably doesn't know that most of this stuff is happening. And that's why we see this like weird incongruence between how the race should look and how it does.
Some also don't care.
Yeah.
Because Donald Trump represents the America that they want to see. But I want to hammer home that point, and I want to continue to talk about it over the next 3 months. It is a very close race. So even if Brian and I are on here like talking shit about Donald Trump and saying how unhinged he is and all of these wackadoodle things that he's saying, it's still a very, very tight race.
Yeah.
Period.
Particularly in the Electoral College. I've never been more confident that Harris will win the popular vote by a significant margin, but that's not how
it works. And we'll do a vibes only episode on that just to like break it down.
I would love that. I have some like wild scenario planning to dive into.
That is, so I should get my go bag ready with my Cliff Bar.
There's like, exactly. There's like some weird shit going on in Nebraska again that could end up being really important. There's some weird stuff going on with the 12th Amendment that could end up being really important. So maybe on a future ep, we can dive in.
Let's talk about, we're going to stay on Donald Trump for one quick more minute because he's back on Twitter. Did you catch this?
Womp, womp, womp. Yeah, I did catch it, but only because I was looking for it. I don't think that it made the waves that
they thought
a Trump Twitter announcement would have made in 2018 or 2019 when we all just sort of were at the mercy of his sticky little fingers on his iPhone 12. Kafifi and Muslim bans and like all these things that he would just like, remember, just tweet out and then would become national policy. And like his own administration was like running to try to figure out how to do something that he decided at 3 a.m. was the right direction for the country.
Yeah. And Elon Musk, lest we forget, he owns Twitter. So this was nothing short of just a political ad for Donald Trump. Judd Legum. Is that how you say his name? Sorry, Judd, if I'm calling you a bean and you're not. Judd Legum, who Brian and I have talked about his newsletter. I subscribe. I love it. It's called Popular Information. I would love to have him on the pod, actually. He did a newsletter on this, and he made the point of like, by Elon Musk buying this platform, it is only now just, you know, an opportunity for Musk to advocate for his political beliefs.
Yeah, it started over 40 minutes late, which was very reminiscent of Ron DeSantis's campaign launch, which he also tried to do on Twitter, X, whatever, and was also a complete failure. So really a bad look for the company and the platform itself, which
the actual tech
been struggling. But yeah, I think that in thinking about why this is a close race, the second reason that always comes to mind is like how many institutional and systemic factors are working openly or secretly in favor of Republicans and Trump. And so to have what like the preeminent online forum for political conversation openly supporting a candidate and instituting policies and sometimes even violating those policies to advance the position of that candidate is like a very real factor to consider. Yeah. I think about how the account White Dudes for Harris was banned and like blocked and then frozen. And I think about how it was reported that Kamala's account was frozen. People were unable to follow the account for a period of time during the first like 24 or 36 hours after the launch of her presidential campaign. And so like these very real sort of saboteur-like actions from a huge platform, again, all working in Trump's favor, even though right now it seems like it's not enough to save him.
No. And Musk has proven himself to be a conservative bigot. This is only in the last like month. Musk, he claimed that Walz mandated that schools provide tampons for boys in middle school. Not true. Tim Walz actually passed an amazing piece of legislation in Minnesota that required free menstrual products be available for students at schools, which is an amazing thing. Menstrual products are expensive. He shared a doctored video of the VP calling herself the ultimate diversity hire. It was literally doctored, not real, fake news. He attacked the VP for identifying herself to an audience that included blind and visually impaired people. So he mocked her for doing what one does, which is she said, "I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm sitting at the table wearing a blue suit," which is how you can identify for the audience what they would be seeing. He also claimed that she shouldn't be president because she doesn't have children. Unless we forget, Elon Musk has children that he's disowned. So,
Yeah. So basically, Musk has been working in favor of Trump all along. And this is just the next natural step in his campaign activities, which was to host Trump for this live interview that they were claiming, and Trump's team was claiming, was going to be the interview of the century. Quite a bold claim, especially when Oprah is still alive. But instead, we kind of got this like wackadoo catch up between two drunk uncles, like where neither one of them was normal. You know what I mean? Like, like they were trying to outdo each other on who could be weirder and say more outrageous things. So the conversation was super rambly, but there were a couple things that I would like to highlight. Number one, Elon starts out by talking about the assassination attempt against Trump and specifically saying that that is why he is supporting Donald Trump. Whether that's true or not, I don't really buy, but it should be embarrassing, even if it is true. The second thing was they did a weird bit on nuclear energy and how Musk was like, nuclear fallout is not really that big of a deal. And like did this weird dive into a topic that neither one of them seemed to be particularly educated about. Meanwhile, Biden's Department of Energy has like invested more in domestic nuclear fuel supply chain than any recent administration. So even if that is the policy you support, you're talking to the wrong guy.
Right.
And then there was also this quip about free speech coming from Elon Musk, which is hilarious. Someone who openly just bans accounts on Twitter that he disagrees with, saying that because he didn't shut down the media and didn't go shutter the CNN offices, that means that Trump believes in free speech.
I think it's obvious that you're a believer and an advocate of free speech, because during your first term as president, you were attacked relentlessly every day, often very unfairly with false attacks. And you didn't try to shut down the media. You didn't try to inhibit their freedom of speech. And I think that says a lot.
Which, of course, is preposterous. And Trump has done more to erode free speech and damage the credibility of reputable news organizations than any other individual alive today.
Sounds like a really compelling conversation.
It was not a total flop. As we said, I don't think that Trump is showing an ability to turn things around. And if things continue to move in the same direction that they have the last 2 weeks, he's in serious trouble. And his path to winning the Electoral College will become narrower and narrower.
Good. Okay, Project 2025, Brian. We've talked about it a lot on this pod. And in the last couple weeks, Donald Trump has tried to distance himself from Project 2025, even though he, a couple years ago, when they first started writing the project, was at the, inception and did a speech. JD Vance, his own VP pick, has written the foreword to the book that is now being delayed to post-election because the conservative movement saw the backlash that Project 2025 had just in the American consciousness because it is so deeply conservative. Well, we got a gift, which is all of their training videos were released or found by ProPublica. Found.
They are insane.
They're insane, right?
We have to get into some of them. It is... I was left dumbfounded after going through just clips of what they're saying. There's like hours and hours of footage that this is something that an organization the size of the Heritage Foundation and all the Project 2025 coalition groups could stand behind and have a serious face.
Yeah, I'm a very pragmatic person, and I tried to think, okay, what if training videos for CAP were released? Center
for American Progress.
Right. Like an organization that has, democracy, front and center. Doesn't compare.
No.
These are, there's no world in which anything on, center or center left, if that were like found and released. By the way, they're probably all public anyway. It's insane. Let's get into it.
I mean, to be clear, even a far left organization, if Justice Dems released their training videos, it would be like, here's how we get Medicare for all. Like, it would not be, here's how to hide your correspondence from accountability organizations. Here's how we're going to eliminate best practices from government administration. Like it's like truly a how to destroy the government for dummies, and dummies are the only people that are going to be buying into this shit. It's nuts. So let's dive in.
The first one I feel like level sets for the viewer what their framework is, which is before they even get into a lot of the even more nefarious videos that they have. They basically are like, if you're not on board with this stuff, sit it out. Get out. Like, you don't have a seat at this table.
Kicking it off with Dan Huff, who was a legal advisor in Trump's White House. So this is someone directly related to the previous Trump administration. And as you said, he's literally saying,
so if you're not on board with helping implement a dramatic course correction because you're afraid it'll damage your future employment prospects, it'll harm you socially, look, I get it. That's a real danger. It's a real thing. But please, do us all a favor and sit this one out.
Basically saying the quiet part out loud, that they want to push things so far that anyone involved is going to become toxic. Let's get into why. Because they cover in great detail what they are really asking these people to do.
Yeah. So this is a 50-minute video that is hosted by Bethany Cosma, and she was a conservative activist and former deputy chief of staff at the U.S. Agency for International Development in the Trump administration. The video is called, which is like so camp and over the top, quote, "Hidden Meetings, the Monsters in the Attic." What do you think the monsters in the attic could be?
It's very cultish.
It's a video discussion that brings up left-wing code words, supposed left-wing code words, and biased language that future appointees should be aware of and root out. So we're talking about like climate change. They talk about climate change a lot. She says in the video,
climate change allegedly is everywhere. And if the American people elect a conservative president, his administration will have to eradicate climate change references from absolutely everywhere. Now, when I think of climate change, I immediately think of population control, don't you? I think about the people who don't want you to have children because of the impact on the environment. Perhaps not everyone will make that connection, but after spending time in the international space trying to protect life, I can tell you that this is part of their ultimate goal, to control people.
This is the perfect example of what Project 2025 is about. A normal presidential campaign runs on policy that the president can implement or that they will work with Congress to try to pass. What Project 2025 is about is all of the soft power and bureaucratic decision-making that goes on in the government and how to systematically turn that to the far, far right. And so in this particular clip, they are calling for every reference to climate change as a concept to be eradicated from every government document and agency, that we would erase the idea of climate change from the US federal government. That is the purpose of this. So it's not going to be a bill that goes to Congress. It's not going to be an executive order from the president. It's going to be a silent erasure of all of the science behind climate change. And this is why I have said for over a year that if you believe that climate change is an existential threat, or even just the most serious threat facing humanity at this point in time, you need to be all in on what was then Biden, now Harris, because this will happen. Like this is the plan. This is what will happen if Trump is elected. And it is a catastrophe for the climate movement.
And I don't want to pile it on, but when you combine that with what's happening at the Supreme Court and you look at Chevron deference and that being overturned, and we talk about the EPA and the people who have the right or, you know, the authority to talk about pollution and air quality, and if that gets stripped from the hands of scientists, it's a full court press.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next one. So this guy who's he was the former assistant secretary for public affairs at the Department of Homeland Security, but he's dressed like a monk from a Keanu Reeves film.
Can we take a beat on that? I know this is like for our audio only listeners, but he literally, I thought he was a priest. He's a man of the cloth. At least he is presenting as such.
The absolute barn burner comment from him was,
the American people who vote for a conservative presidential administration, they're not reading the New York Times. They're not reading the Washington Post. Actually, to the contrary, if those outlets publish something, they're going to assume it's false. So the only way to reach them with any voice of credibility is through working with conservative media outlets.
That should explain a lot about our current politics. Because whether or not you believe the New York Times has like a left-leaning bias, or the Washington Post even has a left-leaning bias, the idea that anything they publish is automatically a lie is how you end up living in the upside down and in a world of alternative facts where Donald Trump is your messiah, right? Like that really explains a lot about 2024. I wonder
if they like purposely chose him as the evangelist for this specific topic because there is such a deep, trust in religion in the, Christian nationalist movement. Just saying. Bizarre.
Let's cap it off.
This one's very ironic, given Donald Trump's classified documents, legal troubles, as I'll call them. Tom Jones, not to be confused with a beloved singer-songwriter, but a former Senate investigator, and now he runs the American Accountability Foundation.
The adage we hear a lot now is like, wow, this meeting could have been an email. Well, in the federal government, this email probably should have been a meeting, because what you probably want to do is if you need to resolve something, it's probably, if you can do it, it's probably better to walk down the hall, buttonhole a guy and say, hey, what are we going to do here? Talk through the decision, work it out. If you reduce it to writing, maybe you can protect it under some of these exemptions, but man, that's a lot of a fight. You're probably better off going down to the canteen, getting a cup of coffee, talking it through and making the decision, as opposed to sending him an email and creating a thread that accountable.us or one of those other groups is going to come back and seek, and you're going to have to explain why you're withholding it, and you're going to fight in court. It's going to be a lot of expense. It's an email that's better resolved with a meeting.
Can I put an exclamation point on that? This is the man who runs the American Accountability Foundation.
I know. That's rich.
He's literally joining us here today to tell you how to hide from accountability.
Yeah. Basically, he's just saying don't put it in writing because they're doing things that are illegal.
Yeah. I think that when a core part of an organization's training involves how to hide your communications from public view, that should raise alarm bells with all of us.
Yeah.
And this is also, I just want to point out, part of a larger trend of Republicans at every level of office around the country trying to hide more information about their communications and about their finances that pertain to how they get into office and how they behave when they are in office. It is a direct result of accountability organizations, nonpartisan accountability organizations, using FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, requests and other tools to try to bring into light what these electeds are doing and how these bills are getting passed. And when ALEC or a related dark money entity or organization or corporate lobbying arm drafts a bill and hands it to a legislator who they just got elected and says, pass this, we need to make more money. Like these are the types of things that bring that into the light and stop it from happening or get that person pushed out of office. And so it's really a big deal to try to have a concerted effort to push your policies to be more extreme, as we saw in the climate reference here, to purge anyone who will be a problem or an obstacle out of the administration, like Dan Huff is talking about, to only work with friendly media organizations who will not push tough questions, and then to hide all of your internal communications about those efforts is a literal roadmap to an authoritarian government.
Yeah, unless you're a Nazi, because they were actually meticulous with their paperwork. But that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, it's really scary. You know, we talk about it and it's like kind of camp and it's so over the top that it's like, what? But they'll do it. They will do it. I mean, they've invested the money to do training videos to make sure every single person they are hiring in that pool of 20,000 pre-vetted conservative staffers, they're watching those videos. There's 20,000 people that are brainwashed to think these things. Take it seriously, please.
Yeah, we better.
It's giving. Trump's pulling out some old tricks.
She wants no Merry Christmas even. I just heard today she's a big fan of fighting no Merry Christmas. No, we're going to have Merry Christmas just like we got for everybody 7 years ago. We brought it back. It was in deep trouble. We brought it.
It's giving he needs to see a cardiologist. For those who can't see that video, he's so red. He might have a circulation issue.
It's definitely giving victimhood perpetually. It's like always, I'm the victim. If you're a Christian thinking that you're being persecuted in the United States, get a grip.
He also ruined Christmas. Lest we forget when he called the 7-year-old and said,
Are you still a believer in Santa? Because at 7 it's marginal, right?
That was actually pretty funny when he did that. It was so dark, and he's like negotiating with a 7-year-old about if they believe in Santa or not.
It's too much.
So Donald Trump also, he's on the campaign trail, obviously, and he's trying to create some oppo against Walz, who's perhaps one of the most likable people ever. And he's creating different worlds.
He has positions that are just not, it's not even possible to believe that they exist. He's going for things that nobody's ever even heard of. Heavy into the transgender world, heavy into lots of different worlds.
It's giving didn't prepare for the reading challenge on Drag Race. She's got
literally the library is not open with Donald Trump, and the library typically is open for Donald Trump. So that's, that's a real decline, a cognitive decline, I would say. Yeah, it's giving grasping for straws. Like, come on, dude. What are you?
Tim Walz as the most radical left person that you've quote like ever seen is hilarious to me. Like,
yeah, the hunter, Tim Walz, the hunter who owns a shotgun, the most radical left. Get a grip.
Heavy into lots of different worlds. It's giving Space Explorer.
Group chat. I want to talk about something that's been going viral. And this is not drag phobic, but did you see JD Vance in drag?
I texted Matt immediately. If you're not online and did not see, Matt XIV, as he's known on the socials, posted a photo, obtained a legitimate photo of JD when he was in law school, fully in drag, in makeup, in a wig, in some sort of frock dress situation. I don't remember.
It was like a skirt and a top. It was
yeah. Girl.
I'm
Girl,
kind of like,
I cackled. Oh, I cackled.
I hate to bring him up, but I'm really curious what George Santos has to say about all this.
I'm starting to think that Republicans do more drag than liberals because it's everyone. It's everyone in a shake and go from Party City. It's so funny to me. Of course, anybody who wants to do drag should do drag. No one's saying that they shouldn't. No one's saying that he should not have. We're just saying that it is hypocritical AF to do drag yourself and then claim that people doing drag are groomers and pedos and all the crazy shit that Republicans spew about the LGBT community at large and especially drag artists. And so it's just like, oh, that was so satisfying to see.
Yep.
And my thought immediately just went to like how dumb Trump feels having picked him and how damaging this is for the ticket overall with like key constituencies. Because it underlines for the base, not for the swing voter, but for the base, what's one of their most potent like lines of attack, their obsession with like trans people and drag.
Yeah, the anti-LGBTQ party line. Yeah, I had the same thought because I'm with you. Like, you want to do drag, just don't tell other people they can't and don't tell other people it's wrong.
And also like you need a little help,
Well, yeah, he definitely needs help. It was a rough eye line, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, you have to wonder, like most candidates get a very, 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 very thorough vet. So JD did not get that.
Well, that's the crazy part is we didn't even talk about it, but Iran hacked the Trump campaign and released the Oppo. It's standard, the vetting, we'll call it vetting, but it's essentially like you do Oppo on yourself in order to like vet a candidate. Like what could they say about this person everywhere they've been, everything they've said, tweeted, whatever. They had a 270-page dossier on JD Vance full of crazy shit that he's done and said. And so like there was ample material, but they definitely missed what is probably a printed photo from when he was in school that someone like developed off of a camera or a disposable camera or something and had in their house. They missed the drag era. They missed JD's drag era in the Oppo.
But you know what? Matt XIV, it wasn't the country of Iran. It wasn't their Secret Service, whatever their internal whatever is. It was Matt XIV broke the drag story.
It was the gays.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with this headline that came out of the White House. This is our good vibe, goodbye. I always rant that I feel the government wastes taxpayer dollars. Well, Joe Biden's administration has answered my rant. This was the headline of the fact sheet. Biden-Harris administration launches new effort to crack down on everyday headaches and hassles that waste Americans' time and money.
Period.
Literally eagle screech that. Like, I am obsessed with this.
It includes making it easier to cancel subscriptions and memberships with a single click.
God.
Making airline refunds automatic when they cancel your flight. Allowing health claims to be submitted online. Cracking down on the customer service doom loops where you cannot get a real person on the phone.
Literally, the screaming into phone, speak to representative. The Joe Biden administration is going to make that easier.
And building in some accountability for like chat bots, again, that just make things so difficult when they don't need to be in 2024, the year of our Lord. So I'm very behind this policy. And it's one of the things that maybe people aren't going to vote based on, but like is a real quality of life improvement if we can get all of this put into place and humming.
Yeah. They literally said Americans are tired of being played for suckers. Amen. Fly, eagle, fly. Let's go.
And those are all the vibes this week. Join us next week for a special episode from inside the Democratic National Convention. In the meantime, send us a note using the link at the top of the description of this podcast or record a voice memo on your phone and send it to us at vibes@couriernewsroom.com. You might have your voice memo played on the next podcast. And finally, if you don't already follow the podcast on your platform of choice, Apple, Spotify, whatever it is, make sure you're following or subscribe to the show so you don't miss any new episodes. Things are really going to heat up between now and November. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Vibes Only is a production of Courier, a civic media company that protects and strengthens our democracy through credible, fact-based journalism and seeks to create a more informed, engaged, and representative America. Vibes Only is produced by Devin Maroney with support from Courier's Kyle Tharp, RC DeMezzo, and Daniel Strasburger. Tara McGowan is founder and publisher of Courier.